All right, Phantom of the Opera. Let's get this show Hey, wait a minute. This isn't the Majestic Theater on Broadway. You there, mortal. Where am I?
Florida?
Fuck. I knew I should have taken a left turn at Abaddon. Hey, is that Phantom of the Opera?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that story. Wait, I recognize you. You're Steve, host of Judge of Character.
Yes, I am. And you are?
I am Diva, the demon who torments the poor souls who dare to create bad musicals.
Bad musicals. That doesn't exactly sound old Beelzebubish.
Yeah, it's not that great of a job.
Ah.
Aren't you a little concerned about the fact that a demon has manifested in your apartment as a ball of flame?
Miss Diva, this is Florida, the world capital of naked and crazy. We have people who get high on bath salts and eat each other's faces. A demon showing up out of nowhere, it's not exactly that surprising. Besides, I kinda always figured there was a portal to hell somewhere around here, probably in one of the numerous sinkholes we've got.
I see. So, you're reading up on Phantom for an episode?
Indeed I am.
Oh, mind if I sit in on this one?
Sure, but, aren't you gonna miss the show?
It's Phantom of the Opera. It's not like it's closing tomorrow.
Good point. Well, let's not waste time and get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of Judge of Character. As always, I'm your host, Steve. And tonight I have a very special guest with me, coming all the way from hell itself. Please welcome my co-host for tonight, Diva.
Greetings, mortals. I am Diva, the ruler of musical hell. Unfortunately, while attempting to go see Phantom on Broadway, I somehow found myself here in this miserable cesspool you call Florida.
Hey! You may be a demon from hell, but that's no reason to be discourteous to your host.
My apologies.
Right. Well, anyway, since Diva specializes in musicals and I in characters, we decided to take this opportunity to delve a little deeper into one of the most famous characters to come from a musical in recent years. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're going to take a closer look at the masked madman himself, the Phantom, from Gaston Leroux's Phantom of the Opera.
Florida sucks.
What was that?
Nothing.
Phantom of the Opera was written by the French novelist Gaston Leroux, and was first published in serialized form in 1909. The story told of a man who lived beneath the Paris Opera House, who terrorized the workers as the Opera Ghost, a malevolent specter who enforced his will on everyone in the theater, including extorting money from the managers.
Things get worse when he falls for Christine Daae, a young girl who he teaches to sing and who he's determined to make into the star of the opera and his bride, more or less in that order. But he's not the only one who wants Christine. There's also Raoul de Chauny, Christine's childhood friend, who also has the hots for her. To say that the Phantom is a wee bit jealous of Christine's relationship with Raoul is an understatement, and it's exasperated by the fact that Raoul is young and handsome while the Phantom is older and horribly deformed. All this leads to the Phantom going on a rampage up to and including murder in his attempts to keep Christine for himself.
Since its first publication, Phantom has gone on to become one of the most recognized stories in recent history. Which is funny, considering that when the story was first published, it was met with lackluster sales and disappointing reviews. It wasn't until the premiere of the 1925 Universal film starring Lon Chaney that the story of the Phantom, and subsequently the character, would become as memorable as it is today, with numerous adaptations, including a musical version provided by Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber.
There's a lot of reasons for the longevity of this story. Much of it is from the story itself, which transcends multiple genres, and a good chunk of its popularity can be attributed to the musical and its songs. but easily one of the strongest elements is the characters themselves, with the Phantom being the biggest draw for audiences.
Tonight we're going to learn more about what makes the Phantom such a memorable character. But where to start?
How about we begin with his backstory?
Oh, sounds as good a place as any.
Of course, it was my idea.
Watch it.
The backstory of the Phantom is one of mystery. Very little information is given about his past in the original novel, with LaRue teasing us with various hints.
No one teases like Gaston.
Did you just make a Beauty and the Beast joke?
Maybe?
Huh, we might get along better than I thought. Anyway, what we do know about the Phantom is that his real name is Erik. He spent time with gypsies as a freak show attraction and was at one point employed as an architect for the Shah of Persia before later becoming an assassin for him. He's also highly skilled in multiple areas such as magic, architecture, ventriloquism, and of course, music. Basically, he's a genius.
In addition, we learn that Erik's disfigurement is one he's had since birth, and as you might imagine, it's the main cause of much of his problems with people. When your own mother won't even kiss you and forces you to wear a mask, what can you expect from the rest of the world? Because of how sparse Erik's backstory is, there's a level of intrigue that pulls us to him. It makes us more interested in him and adds a certain level of mystery to the character overall.
Yeah, the mystery of his past is interesting, but it's not the only thing that makes him memorable.
I agree, but I know something else about him.
Which is?
His role in the story.
Okay, so he's the villain. Exactly how does that make him memorable?
He's not just a villain, he's a tragic villain. More importantly, he's the kind of character who blurs the line between protagonist and antagonist, which I also like to call role dissonance.
Okay, you've lost me. What the home base is role dissonance?
Basically, it's when a character fills a certain role in a work, but the fans of that work often interpret the character otherwise. Instead of seeing the villain as a villain, they see him as a misunderstood hero, and vice versa. There's a dissonance between the original portrayal of the character and how the audience perceives him. Role dissonance.
So you mean Draco and Leatherpants or Ron the Death Eater, then?
Yes, but I want it to sound a little bit more professional than that.
You failed!
Okay, fine. If you don't like that, what would you call it?
How about tragic villain?
Touché.
Erik certainly meets the criteria for a tragic villain.
Everyone grab your checklist!
Alright, commits horrible crimes.
Check!
Ultimately wants to be normal.
Check.
Has a tragic past that evokes sympathy.
Haha, double check.
So let's take a moment to look closer at the more tragic elements of the character.
Obviously, the most tragic element is his deformity and the effect it had on the rest of his life. And it doesn't help that he was born that way.
Oh, really? Now you're pushing it.
I am so sorry.
The Phantom's deformity, which is described as him looking like death warmed over, results in everyone hating and fearing him on his appearance alone. This leads to him living in isolation with only a minimal level of contact with others, few of which offer anything good.
But that's only one small aspect of Erik's disfigurement. It actually plays a much larger role in regards to the character himself.
The Phantom's deformity is the key visual aspect of his character, along with the mask that covers it. Indeed, the most recognizable icon of the entire story is that famous white mask.
Well, it's white in later adaptations. Also, Erik's deformity is much greater in the original novel, encompassing his entire body, not just his face.
Later adaptations would lessen the ugliness, usually limiting it to the face. Case in point, the Weber adaptation. This version was originally going to have a full facial deformity like the Lon Chaney version, but it was quickly realized that having a full face prosthetic would severely hinder the ability of the actor to emote on stage.
Yes, even I know that in theater you have to be big and grand with your movements in order for everyone in the audience to see you. Hell, that's why they have to belt out the songs as loud as they can. It's so the people in the nosebleeds can hear them.
Right. To compensate, they confined the deformity to the right side of the actor's face, giving us the now iconic half mask the Phantom is so well known for.
In addition to his hideousness and the isolated lifestyle, how about the fact that the woman he loves ends up rejecting him for a pretty boy? All these factors combine to make Erik a tragic villain. Despite all of the horrible things he does in the story, we still feel sorry for him, even seeing him less as a villain and more as a...
sex god?
I trust you have a special place in hell for whoever did that, right?
Yep, right between people who don't turn off their cell phones in theaters and the makers of political ads.
Wow, that's evil.
Have you seen the crap they're coming out with this election year? Trust me, they're getting off light.
Of course, how much of a tragic villain Erik is depends on one major factor, his portrayal.
Oh, is this where we talk about the different actors?
Yes, it is indeed.
Yes! Stand back, I've got this one.
Wait, what? But it's my show.
Silence! Much better. The portrayal of the Phantom over the years has been an important factor in how the character has been remembered. Different actors have brought out different elements of Erik's character over various adaptations, each one worth mentioning. But for time's sake, I'll stick with a few examples. The first actor to play Erik, and one of the most iconic, is Lon Chaney in the 1925 Universal film. This version is the one that came closest to achieving the look of the Phantom described in the original novel, thanks to the makeup skills of Chaney himself, who kept the design secret until filming began. In addition, this version of the story is also the most faithful adaptation to both the character and the story itself. While Erik is still villainous in later adaptations, this version is just as evil as the original.
Evil! Evil! Impolite and evil!
I've already silenced you. Don't make me burn you. Chaney is certainly the most memorable film Phantom, with his commanding presence and brilliant makeup job. But the best-known adaptation of the character is, of course, the musical from Andrew Lloyd Webber. The role in the musical was originally considered for Irish actor Colm Wilkinson, but he was tied up with a little show called Les Miserables at the time. So the part went to Michael Crawford, an actor who up to that point had been known for bumbling comedic roles. The against-type casting paid off. Crawford's sensual physicality, heart-wrenching pathos, and ethereal voice made an indelible impression, earning him both the Olivier and the Tony Award, and creating the template by which the Lloyd Webber Phantoms operate by. Multiple actors have since played the role worldwide, including the aforementioned Wilkinson, Howard McGillin, who holds the record for most performances in the role, Raman Karimloo, who played the part in the 25th anniversary gala celebration at Royal Albert Hall, and most recently Norm Lewis, who is the first black actor to play the role on Broadway. Each actor brings his own unique spin to the part, ranging from romantic and seductive to sinister and terrifying. But the one actor we can all agree as being the worst is Gerard Butler from the Schumacher film. Oh, fine, what is it?
Finally! And just what kind of a problem do you have with Gerard Butler?
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not.
I really don't want to go over it all again. If you or anybody else really wants to know what I think about Gerard Butler as the Phantom, feel free to check out my review on the Schumacher film at my website, musicalhell.blogspot.com.
Nice plug.
Thanks.
But you know what? I still like Gerard Butler as the Phantom.
What is wrong with you? Explain yourself.
Okay, this is just my opinion, but I don't see him as being that bad. True, he's way too pretty to be the Phantom, and his singing isn't appropriate for opera, but I like the emotional weight he at least tries to put behind his singing.
That's it?
Look, it's just an opinion, okay? Mostly I like it because it's what got me into the story. If it hadn't been for that movie, I would have never enjoyed the story, I would have never truly enjoyed the character. I mean, is that so wrong?
Well, I suppose I could see that, but you still deserve to be punished.
Punished? Oh, please, what are you gonna do? Set me on fire? Oh, man. That's funny. Oh my god, I'm on fire! Ah!
Look, I said I was sorry.
You set me on fire!
Oh, quit being a baby. Of course, as important as having the right actor is, there's another important factor about this particular character that we primarily see in the theater.
What's that?
The music. While the Phantom originated in literature and has been in films, he's most often remembered as a musical character thanks to the Broadway show. Because of this, the music is a major factor in the character, both the individual songs and how and why they're sung.
This is true. When you mention the Phantom of the Opera around people, they're either going to mimic the famous unmasking scene from the 1925 film, or they're gonna bust out into an impromptu karaoke performance of Music of the Night.
In order to discuss how the music reflects the Phantom's character, let's focus on three major songs from the Lloyd Webber musical: Music of the Night, the All I Ask of You reprise, and The Point of No Return. Music of the Night is the most memorable of the three because it's the song the Phantom uses to seduce Christine after he abducts her. This is where we see his passion for music and his passion for Christine, both of which create an allure about him that is sustained through the show even as his behavior becomes increasingly violent and terrifying. It's also a mesmerizing lullaby that's one of the best solos Lloyd Webber has ever written, in my opinion. The 5-chord progression that closes out the piece is probably my favorite resolution to a song. The All I Ask of You reprise comes at the end of the first act and, as the title indicates, is a dark version of the love song sung by Christine and Raoul just a few minutes earlier, with the Phantom overhearing every word unbeknownst to them. It's a great moment dramatically because we see how sad and heartbroken he is, but also how that sadness turns into fury and revenge. This is where the tragic part of the Phantom's tragic villainy comes in. His inability to deal with Christine's rejection leads him on a downward slide that essentially ensures his defeat. Every move he takes to claim Christine from here on out, beginning with dropping a chandelier in the middle of her performance, will only drive her further away from him.
A chandelier? Bro, let it go.
If you make a Frozen reference here, I will end you.
Oh, come on, it's a good movie!
I'm not denying that, but let's not jump on the meme bandwagon, okay?
So, that'd be a no to me playing the piano in a white mask, wouldn't it?
The Point of No Return, in universe, is a song written by the Phantom as part of his opera Don Juan Triumphant. During the work's premiere, he murders the leading tenor in order to take his place and play Don Juan as he attempts to seduce Christine's character.
Well, someone wants to do a self-insert.
Well, that's not too far from the truth. Point of No Return is essentially the Phantom's wish fulfillment moment. It's a passionate tango that embodies the person he wants to be. Desirable, admired, and most of all, able to win the heart of the woman he loves.
So he's like most nice guys.
Kind of. But again, it comes back to the tragedy of the character. He can't have what he wants because his own nature prevents it. And in the end, he has to accept this by letting Christine go to live happily with Raoul, an act that gives Erik a measure of redemption and justifies the audience's sympathy for him.
What's that?
Oh, that's just an elephant in the room.
Why is there an elephant in the room? And more importantly, how did he fit?
It's probably expecting us to discuss the musical's you-know-what.
Fans?
No, the thing that Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote a few years back.
Aspects of Love?
Sweet Lucifer, you're going to make me say it. The sequel!
Oh, that. I don't want to talk about that. I value what little sanity I have left. Do you want to talk about that?
I've already raked that nonsense over the coals. I am not revisiting it.
Well, what are we going to do about that? I can't have an elephant in here. I'll lose my security deposit.
Allow me.
Oh, now I gotta wash the scorch marks off the walls. Damn it. In the end, what is it about the Phantom that makes him a memorable character?
I think it comes down to the fact that he is a character of extremes. He is a hideous man who makes beautiful music, a brilliant creator who is capable of great destruction, a monster who is, in part, a product of society's monstrousness, and most importantly, an obsessive stalker who learns to act selflessly for the sake of his love.
This leads to the sympathy factor. We feel for the guy, even if his actions horrify us, but that sympathy makes for a character that stays in our minds for a long time. Between the music, the actors, and everything else, it's hard to forget a guy like Erik. This leads me to ask a question, though. What would have happened if he'd been born normal?
Interesting question. Certainly a lot of his more appealing qualities, his intelligence, his musical genius, and his charisma, have nothing to do with the way he looks. And yet he has been so shaped by his alienation from society, it's impossible to tell how much of his madness is the result of that, and how much of it is ingrained in his character. It comes down to the old debate, nature or nurture.
Exactly, and this is quite possibly the most tragic element about him. Gaston Leroux said it himself in the novel. Poor Erik. Yes, poor Erik, indeed. Well, that about sums him up, don't you think?
Couldn't have put it better myself. So, how do I get out of here?
Good question. Well, I happen to know a little bit about demonology. I mean, maybe I can find a spell to send you home with.
How do you know anything about demons?
You think I got this job?
Okay, I haven't had a good banishment in a while. Do your worst.
Alrighty, let's see here. Card tricks, owning a major news network. Here we go. Demon banishment. Alright. Klaatu, Varada, Necktie!
Yeah, I'm just gonna let myself out.